I'm Councilmember Jane Poston. Welcome to Women Rise. This show is all about creating connections for women in the business community. We all know that businesses and careers are built on relationships, and I hope to help you create some of those relationships with women in the community who have already been successful in their profession. I am going to introduce you to some trailblazing women and give some of our younger professionals the opportunity to ask them questions. We want to make connections with our newer professionals and women in leadership roles so that every woman in Chandler knows there is a place for them and that they can succeed in whatever they want to do. And with that, I am very excited to introduce you to my next guest. It's Najwa Kazal. She is with Edwards, which is a new semiconductor company in Chandler. And Najwa, you are doing amazing things. You are in the midst of building a 200,000 square foot building and sitting here looking calm as can be. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Najwa's been in the semiconductor industry as an engineer for more than 20 years.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your career.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. Really, really appreciate it. And so, yes, I've been in the actual semiconductor. I kind of on and off, but for the last 2 years, I've been fully focused on semiconductor. And before that, I was in the aerospace industry, so did a lot of that, and then did different kind of fields in engineering as well.
And what are you doing at Edwards? What's the big job right now?
Oh, yes, I'm a general manager for the region, the Americas region, responsible for all the service centers that we do, and we have sites across the United States and also in Mexico, and the one in Brazil as well for the Americas.
And I don't want to focus too much on Edwards, but it's a very important company to Chandler because it's right there in the heart of what makes Chandler very special. Can you tell us just briefly what the company does?
Yes, absolutely. So we are vacuum control and abatement systems. We support the semiconductor industries, big customers, and we're in both the fab and the sub-fab to control systems.
Okay. And why don't we get into a little bit about you and what you're doing? You are definitely in a leadership role. And everywhere I go in Chandler, people already know your name. You guys have only been here a very short while, not even completely open yet. Tell me what kind of leader you are and what's important to you as a leader.
Yeah, so I say I'm a visionary leader. I see the future, try to, in terms of what do we plan ahead, the future terms of where we're going, and look at also where we're at today. Those are key things. But really, what the key things for me is being both, I say, fair and firm. And fair is I'm a mom, and I do lead with my heart. I love people. I want to continue to drive and improve and focus on people. But I also firm is the accountability. I hold myself accountable. So I work with my team, and we have top talent team members right now and leadership team in my organization. So it's really the balance between being fair and loving people and caring about them and taking care of them, and also being firm, because at the end of the day, we have accountability to our customers, to our shareholders, to our communities as well.
Absolutely. So when it comes to being fair and firm, is that something that you might expect of someone who you would be a mentor to?
Oh, absolutely. I think, but with that, I mean, it develops, right? It develops as you grow. A lot of time where as women leaders, we're being looked at to always be firm and take a stand and be decisive, which is all great, really great things. But there are a lot of good things about us as women that it's great to bring into the leadership. And it is caring for people. It is leading with your heart. It's doing crazy things in your roles, and they say, really, we want to do that? Like, want to have an Easter egg hunt? Oh, great! Ideas like that the feminist side in us bring in to the masculine industry that we're in.
Well, and you are definitely in a STEM industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything specific that you do to encourage women to enter the STEM industry? And from what I've read, even more importantly, make sure that they stay there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I started my career as a quality engineer, and I share that with all my team. I say, my first job was $8 an hour as a quality engineer in a clean room environment. And that was just right out of college, because I didn't really even know what I wanted to do. I was graduated with mechanical engineering. It was computer science was booming and all of this. So it's really just trying to figure out what do you want, where do you fit in that STEM. But it's also, as engineers, we can also explore the business side, and that's what I did. I worked in the engineering for quite a bit, for 12, 14 years, and I really enjoyed it. But I said, there's more to that I want out of it. So it's kind of, I explored into the business side as well. So being in STEM is really just finding what you really enjoy and then building up on it. But don't be afraid to explore, because there's just so many different variation on what's out there.
A lot of paths for women to take.
A lot of paths for women to take.
Absolutely. And don't you work in the nonprofit community to encourage young women to enter that?
Yes, I do. I enjoy just being in Chandler as an example. One very important for us is how do we get involved in the community. Being in Edwards and coming in, we're going to be over 400 people in the next 2 to 3 years, and that doesn't just start from nowhere. So we wanted to be part of the community, but as we started going the community, we learned that there is a lot of diversity that we need to be engaged in understanding where women are, and starting right from the high school level. I think this is one thing that I'm really passionate about, is we just don't want to just start at the college level where we go and say, hey, they already made up their mind, right? They already applied for college, they know what career they want to or what degree they want to. But we want to get down into the high school, is try to get engaged with girls' rights, women's rights. I call them girls' rights because that's when they're making those decisions. And we want to interest them in the semiconductor industry. We want to interest them in engineering. We want to interest them into something. For a long time, it was a man field, and now we're saying it's open for everyone. There are a lot of opportunities, and that's what we're encouraging, and I want to be engaged in.
Well, and that leads me to my next question. It's something I've been very impressed with Edwards about, is that you have a very robust diversity, equity, and inclusion program. And it's not just about saying the words, it's very common in businesses these days. But you've actually taken some serious action on it. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah, I'm very proud to say that we actually, for the Chandlers, we're at 25% female, and we're going to target the 2030. So we're really just on the right track. One of the things that we're doing a lot is training our leaders. We're not just looking at recruiting women into the field, but also keeping them, because it takes a lot to make that commitment. So we're training our leaders. We have a lot of a focus on that, but we also, on our recruitment, we added, even though we have a requirements of 2 years or 3 years or whatever, we put on all of our job application, women are encouraged to apply. And we take that seriously. Every application that we get that a woman is interested, we just don't look at, okay, is she qualified for the job? We look at it, is she committed and wanting to learn? And is she, of course, not definitely the right fit for the culture? But then everything else we will train on the job to encourage more women to apply.
That's fantastic. So do you have someone that maybe affected you in your career as a mentor that created one of those aha moments for you?
Yeah, so I always start with my mom, and she's my role model. We have a lot of great women role models in my house. My aunt was the first graduate with physics from the university.
Oh my goodness.
So just growing up, you're like, you have somebody always, to look up for and stuff like that. But, I've had great sponsors. I always encourage female leaders and also male allies to become sponsors, not just mentors. And the reason for that is, when we do sponsorship, it's not just we're making commitment to say, hey, I have a conversation, I guide you in your career. We actually sponsor someone to say, hey, I am going to have a role in engineering manager, as an example. Okay, where are you today? Is this your aspiration? What can I do to help you, work with you? Or even if I don't have a role, and somebody, a colleague, another leader has a role, and I know this employee is interested into this, let's say, business controller or whatever that is start contacting my colleagues and said, I have an employee here, I'm sponsoring this talent, and I'd like to work with you on that. And I think this is really commitment. Mentorship, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of female mentors. They taught me a lot, but I always say I am who I am today because of the male allies that also played in my role as a mentors.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned being a mom, and you've
Yes.
got a couple of kids, and look
Yes.
how it makes you smile when we talk about our
Absolutely.
kids, right?
Absolutely.
So, how would you say your position and your leadership role is going to affect maybe the way they enter the workforce? Sounds like it's sort of a family tradition, so that's okay.
Yeah, it's a new generation,
Yes.
so they don't want to go into engineering, but that's okay. One of the things I think it teach them the right work ethics. I also grew up with a father who had 3 jobs, a mom who was a role model, and you take that with you, and then you look at yourself and say, why am I today who I am? I think the family, the home is a big influence on who we are and who we want to be. So I'm hoping they can see the career path that I've taken. They've seen the struggles that I've had throughout my career as well, and they can take that and they can even do better than I've done as well.
What would you say some of those barriers are to women in your field?
What I mean, it's just say in engineering, just being a not having that many colleagues, somebody to talk to, and somebody say, hey, even in college, 2 to 3 to 30 and 40 students, and when I started, so just to share that, I'm having a challenge, like how do I deal with it? That's one thing. Two is in an industry like the semiconductor industry, it's a I've been in different semi events, and you look around and there are a lot of male in that industry who knows each other for well. So you have to always try to prove yourself, and you have to show that I know what I'm talking about, and sometimes we really don't know everything. So just
But
that
sometimes
balance.
neither do those men.
That's right. But their confidence level is much higher than ours. And that's what we did. It's hard. It's just building that confidence, trusting in yourself, saying, okay, yes, I'm in a new industry or a new field, or moving from the aerospace to the semiconductor. It's a totally different field. But just having the right partners, having the confidence level and the strength, and just to ask the right questions. And again, I re-emphasize having the right allies, either women helping women continue to grow, and also men helping women to in this industry to say, hey, what can I do to be there to support you?
And I love that you mentioned that, because when you have the men in the room like that, they can certainly be helpful to making maybe some of those newer professionals or
Yes.
women comfortable in those spaces.
Yes.
So that's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to ask you a little bit more of a difficult question,
No worries.
because when people watch this show, we didn't get to where we are. Women didn't get to your position without a few bumps in the road.
Yes.
What would you say has been one of those failures that you look back on?
Yeah, it's a great question. Great ask.
Put you on the spot.
I call them setback.
I like that.
I usually I don't see anything that I've through all the different challenges that I've had. Never had really like a failure where like put me down and anyone are like, oh, I'm never gonna try this again. I think there was just a setback, and the biggest one was, I as a mom, my kids needed me. I was traveling a lot. I was right at my peak of my career. I was really doing really well, and it just needed time to be home and needed time to be with my kids. And it was, to me, it was a decision that I took. I said, you know what, I'm going to do more on teaching. And I actually gave 3 months notice, and I left the current organization that I won, and I did it for my family. And sometimes you can look at that as a setback from your career, but to me that was actually the right decision from a family perspective. And look, what I'm still here. It didn't set me back not to be a leader and a GM one day. So sometimes I say you have to pause, and you can take a pause when you need to, and then you get right back at it and just keep going.
I think that's fantastic. Just changing, it's changing for now. You
Yes.
can always go back, because you certainly still brought those skills to the table.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So is there any particular reason that you are seeing that women might not be choosing the field of engineering or STEM, or what would you like to say to them?
Oh, I would say if I learned anything in engineering, it's problem solving. And we, as moms and girls and sisters, and just that in our nature, we love to problem solve. So it's a great career. There's a lot of growth in it. There's also I went after my MBA. I worked in the field for a while, and then I had there was a business analytic with Harvard Business School, and I learned a lot more about it. Said, you know what, I want to do it because there's a lot for us to learn in the AI industry. So there's so much from mechanical to electrical to computer science to now AI. I mean, that's the world that we're going into. It's a fascinating world, and there's a place for us in there.
Awesome. And I know you like working with young women, and
Yes.
you said it's a passion of yours. We have a few young women that want to ask you some questions,
Sure.
because we are trying to make those connections
Yep.
between the new professionals, the younger women, and people who maybe have a little more experience in the career. If someone wanted to make that connection with you or any other mentor, what actions would you want that person to take? What should they expect for their role as a mentor, or you had another word for it that was a little bit of a different
Sponsor,
definition. A
yes.
sponsor.
Yeah, but no, my mentorship, if I would use that as an example, when I first went and met with she was a mentor at that time. She asked me, like, do you know what you want to do? And I think that's the one question a lot of people go into mentorship not knowing the answer. Well, I'm not too sure. I'm thinking about this. So before you choose a mentor, know what you want, at least an idea, like a roadmap, right? You might say, okay, I'm going to Florida. You not know where exactly in Florida, but at least just have that idea of where you want to head to. And then after that, you can create a roadmap. I had a 5-year roadmap, and I always, when people used to say, what is your 5-year? And I was like, oh, really? Why are you, I learned that actually was great, useful tool, because you have a 5-year goal, and then you build up every year on different courses, different skills, even different mentors in every stage of the 5-year there. So I'd say know what you want. Start working with your mentor on what that roadmap is, and then start measuring. This is where I say the accountability, right? And say, okay, you can pause every year and reflect and say, okay, did I achieve what I want? Do I need to change my path or there? And then at the end of the day, I knew I wanted to be a GM. I had a 5-year roadmap, and I completed that in 4.
And that's not saying because you have a roadmap that you have to stick to it exactly.
No.
You're going to take a left turn somewhere, or have a little rest stop here to spend some time with your family, which I absolutely love.
Yes.
Well, we have some questions for you shortly. We're going to go to our next segment. If you can stick around and answer those questions, I'd really appreciate it. It's no secret that business deals are made on the golf course. And according to Forbes, more than 90% of Fortune 500 CEOs play golf. And get this, about 80% of them say that it helps them establish new business relationships. So, golf is an important part of business, but too long, women have been sitting on the sidelines. It is time to get women in the game. I want to introduce you to Shar Carson out at Springfield Golf Course, who is doing just that. Shar has made it a point to educate women about golf. Can you tell me why that's always been so important to you?
For the game of golf and the opportunities for women, so many women are missing out in the workplace, in their personal lives, in their family lives when the other colleagues, the other family members go out and golf and they're left behind. It's really what inspired me to become a golf instructor. I was at the Nielsen Company for almost 19 years. And for 2 years of my last tenure there, I had a poster on my wall that said, "Start your career in golf today." And every time we had a golf outing and all our female managers and executives would miss out and not get to network and build the relationships, I'm like, wow, we've got to find a way to help women get in the game.
It stunted their business growth
For sure.
opportunities, right?
For sure. I started a golf league and we made it cross-functional across different departments. Our productivity went up faster than any other team building activity you can imagine. And I just got inspired. In 2006, I woke up, took the poster off my wall, walked into my manager's office, and I said, "I'm resigning." He goes, what? I said, I am. He goes, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to move to Arizona. I'm going to go to the golf academy, learn how to become an instructor, and help women get into the game.
And there you go. What's different in the way you teach women as opposed to the way you teach men?
I think women have, we're a little self-conscious starting something new, especially as an adult. When women know how they need to behave, their confidence goes way up. And so this Golf 101 program is all about teaching you anywhere from what to wear, when to show up, how to go shopping for it, how to behave out there, how to play fast and keep up. It just builds your confidence from day one. And in 6 weeks in the Golf 101 program, in week 5, we're out on the golf course playing.
So what type of equipment does a beginner need?
For the beginner, for a Golf 101 program, I provide clubs throughout the 6 weeks that they can use, every club that you need and the set to play out on the course. And really to start, you need tennis shoes. And for women, a simple rule of thumb, if you have a collar, you don't need sleeves. If you have sleeves, you don't need a collar. Really staying away from tank tops. And most courses would prefer that you don't wear denim. So skirts, shorts, capris, all of those work. And you can get a glove from the golf shop when you start, but the golf clubs are included in our Golf 101 program and provided.
And this is specifically for, right now you're working with women in the MBA program, correct?
It is, yep. So this is our 7th season. We called it Business Golf 101, and we do Business Golf 102 in the fall. And about 3 years ago, some of the male MBA students said, you know what, we need to learn to golf for business too. And I had to think about it because it was originally for women. Then I started thinking, you know, when they get into the workplace, men and women are going to play together. And if these guys are learning from the get-go how fun it is to play with women, what a win-win for everybody. And we're finding in our programs today that men are so supportive of the women because they're brand new learning at the same time the women are, and it's vice versa. It's really a neat dynamic.
That's fantastic. Is there a different approach that you use with women and specifically for the business course as opposed to maybe your general classes that you give?
So for our Business Golf 101, we talk a lot about how you can use it as a business tool, how you would treat a client. You know, if you're taking client golf, you're going to want to show up at least an hour ahead of time. And casual golf, minimum is 30 minutes. So we start covering some of the things that do's and don'ts for business. And you know, one of the things I promised them after the 6-week Business Golf 101 program, they're not going to be ready for tour, but they're definitely going to be ready to accept any invitation to be invited to a scramble, a business outing, a charity outing, and they're going to know how to behave and how to contribute. And believe it or not, in golf, sometimes attitude totally trumps aptitude. But if you know enough to feel comfortable, like what club to grab, when it's your turn, you're going to be able to build relationships and have a good time out there.
Fantastic. So what would you say are the top 3 things women need to know about golf?
First and foremost, you can do this.
Oh, I love that.
So many women think, I don't have an athletic bone in my body, and then you find out they dance and they got more grace and balance than anybody, and then they just crush it out here on the golf course. So yes, they can do it. Doesn't matter if you don't have a lot of athletic experience. Golf's a fascinating game. In the course of just one hole, you're going to get excited and devastated all in the course of 300 yards. And I would say one of the biggest things in life, consequences can be a lot of things, right? In golf, think about our worst consequence, we hit it, we got to find it and hit it again. It's pretty
You got to keep
minor.
practicing, right?
You can, but really hitting a bad shot, even the pros do it, and they practice 12 hours a day. So we're human beings, and keeping a positive attitude, you can get through this game and have a lot of fun with it.
And speaking of pros, why don't you explain just a little bit about where you're going with your career? Because not only are you teaching, you're still in the game yourself. And we're on the tour. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sort of.
Just brag just a little.
Sort of. I did not grow up playing golf, so I started as an adult, so I completely appreciate getting into the game as an adult, not as a child. 2018 was the first ever Senior Women's U.S. Open. And the men's senior open's been going on over 40 years, I think. Right. So I flew to Wheaton, Illinois to see what it was all about. And I was inspired. I said, what's it going to take to qualify to do that? And in 2019, I trained to go and qualify. I ended up as a second alternate. I'm like, okay, great learning. 2020 was COVID. You know, the world changed, kind of shut down for a year. And in 2021, I said, I'm going to give it another go. And I actually qualified and went and played in the Senior Women's U.S. Open, which was a phenomenal experience. The USGA, all the sponsors, everything, it's an experience like no other. And to be next to a lot of those famous Hall of Fame, World Hall of Fame tour players and learn from them, it was inspiring. And part of what gave me that go is not only seeing it want to do it, I'm an athlete from other sports, but it's making me a better teacher, a better coach for my juniors, better coach for my players. Anybody that wants to compete, I know what it takes to train.
You remember what it's like to be a little intimidated, maybe?
I'm very intimidated, yes. Every time in this game, right?
And are you going to continue competing?
July is the Senior Women's U.S. Open qualifier, so I'm going to give it a go one more year.
Fantastic. I hope to see you in it. And so thank you. Any final words for those women golfers or people who are thinking about it out there?
Don't be afraid,
Yes.
right? Make a connection. You can do this. Start with LPGA Golf 101 program in your area. There's a website that has courses, programs listed by zip code, so you can find that, and come on out and get into the game.
Well, Shar, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So Shar absolutely knows her stuff, but we could not leave the golf course without talking to a couple of her students who are figuring out how to make golf part of their business strategy. I'm with Jessica and Marissa, and they are two MBA students, and they both take lessons with Shar. And so I want to know, why do you think it is so important for women to golf?
I think it's important because, especially in the working world, you know, in corporations, there's so many golf outings, and it's very male dominated, and guys are very comfortable going out on the golf course. You know, even if they hit a bad shot, they joke and laugh it off. But if it's very different for women, maybe they haven't been playing, they don't want to, you know, look bad in front of coworkers, whatever it is. So I think that having that confidence and at least knowing, you know, the rules and how everything works is very important and motivating to have them go out and be a part of those outings.
Agreed. Do you think women are missing out on business deals if they're not golfing?
I think so. I think if they're not golfing, they're missing the opportunity to walk through doors that golf can open for them, especially here in Arizona, where it's so popular with the courses we have here in the tournaments. It really gives you an upper hand when you can talk golf or play golf with your colleagues.
Do you think women miss out on business deals if they don't golf?
Of course, I mean, you're out there it takes about 4 hours to play a full round of golf, and there's a lot of walking and talking between holes. It's very interactive in that sense. You definitely build relationships, and if you're missing out on that time, that can really cut that out.
As a business owner myself, I can't imagine a situation where I would get a client for 4 hours of having fun. So it's a huge deal. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, our first day out here, Shar teaches us about etiquette and says that could make or break a business relationship. If you're late to a tee time, if you walk in front of their putt, it's all really important to how you portray yourself and your character, but also it translates a lot into the office, and that all starts on the golf course.
Do you think comfort level and the confidence on the course makes a difference?
Yeah, if you're not comfortable, you're not going to want to even go play in the first place. But if you have that level of confidence, you'll know that, you know, maybe you might not hit the best shot, but for the next one or the next one, you'll hit a good shot if you keep, you know, practicing. And like Marissa said, Shar is amazing at, you know, teaching all the different tips and tricks. It doesn't matter if you're the best or you've only started playing.
So you're both MBA students now. How are you going to bring this skill with you in your career?
Well, in the past, I actually personally had so many opportunities to go out on the course during different outings that I always said no to. I just wasn't confident. And now I know that going forward, it'll come up again, obviously, and I'm not going to say no. I'm going to actually say yes and be part of these outings and build those relationships like we talked about, something I'm definitely going to be using with me in my career.
Fantastic. How about you?
For me, I hope that the office I'm going to be joining already has like an annual scramble or something for charity. If not, I really want to organize it and especially bring women to get out on the course and meet Shar and have a good time.
So you already have plans to bring other women along?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing it and I'll keep doing it.
Fantastic. And you're going to be right here in Chandler, right?
Yep, I'm going to be at Northrop Grumman in Chandler. So I will definitely be here at Springfield when I can.
We will see you both. Thank you so much for doing this interview, and I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you out there. Well, and I think there's proof that business doesn't always have to be completely serious. It can be done on the golf course as well. So those were some amazing young women that are in college, but now we have some high school students that wanted to ask you some questions. So let's watch.
How do you balance work, home life, and just life in general?
That's a question we get a lot about work-life balance. You said you had an answer for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to, it's not that easy, but I think it means different to different people. And I'd say like mine has been, I work a lot. I enjoy working. I enjoy being, in the field. But at the same time, I would be like Monday through Friday, do all the work. But then when I get home, 5:30, I shut my computer off. I do the mommy thing, the wife thing, and then by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, after the kids will go to bed, I turn my computer on. So that was, it's just being present, fully present when you're actually present after 5:30. And then right now it's actually, I work Monday through Friday, but then Saturday and Sunday, it's me time. It's time where you shut off, you keep checking, you make sure that, everything's okay. But you also should set an example for your employees, is that really these are the days that I'm taking off. This is the days that I'm working. And I just came back from vacation. So even with all the 200,000 square foot building and everything else, it was a good time that's the work-life balance, right? The life of just taking a break, enjoying, and then you'll get right back at it. So for each one is different. It's whatever makes sense, but at the same time, you need to have time for you. That's the number one thing. And then you have to have time for your family.
I really like something that you said, and I wanted to just kind of emphasize that a little bit, because you're in a leadership role to both men and women. I don't think men get asked that question very often in terms of that work-life balance. But the fact that you are setting an example, not just for your family, that this is an example for your employees as well.
Yes.
That's important, that life isn't all about the work, and being present completely.
Yes, absolutely.
So I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we got one more question. Let's see it.
Hi, I'm Sophia, and I'm a senior at ACP High, and my question is, what is something you would tell your younger self based on what you know now?
And this is such a good question. What would you tell your younger self?
Oh, just don't be afraid. Just explore. Especially when you're young. I knew I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, but if I would go back and I say I should have explored all the different engineering just to see, hey, maybe there's something else. So I always say just be furious, get up every time that you think that you didn't do something right, or that I sit down a lot and say, oh my God, I should have done this better, or I should have
Those little voices in your head,
those little voices, and
repeating.
say, nobody even knows that this happened. You just keep on going sometime. And I think so. If I go back and look at myself and just say, just live your life and be strong and explore and just be young.
Oh my goodness. Well, Najwa, thank you so much for being here. I know you have so much on your plate right now. Any last final words for the women out there?
No, one is thank you very much. I think this is great show, and it's really great to continue to speak and talk about things that are very important for us, and also to encourage young women out there that there are women in leadership, that they didn't even know their beginning of the path. They started in engineering and they went to business. And there are a lot of women leaders that I know that they started in engineering, continued in engineering. So that there are all these different options available, but really having you as a leader as well to speak about this, we really appreciate that. And you're also breaking the glass ceiling, so I appreciate that as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. And I can't wait to keep seeing what you're going to be doing here in Chandler for our community. You've already got off to a great start.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us today. I'm Councilmember Jane Poston. This has been Women Rise.